In this video, we'll talk about the subtle states of the mind, the awakened mind, and get to know the teachers of the world, those who awaken the mind from within. Lately, many people have come to me sharing similar experiences. A state of change from within, deeply connected to nature. Some say, just feeling the breeze feels like being embraced. Just sitting and looking at a tree feels like talking to an old friend who listens quietly. And for some, simply sitting alone under a tree in silence feels like a happiness that is already enough. One person shared her story with me. She had just turned down a generous offer from someone who wanted to buy a tree from her yard. Because, in her heart, she knew it wasn't just a tree, it was family. When she told me, I could feel she truly meant it. She said she couldn't bear to see the tree cut down or removed. If the tree were to fall from a natural storm, she could accept that. It wasn't just that she understood the tree. Perhaps it was the tree that understood her first. Nature didn't just calm her. It transformed her, quietly, without her even realizing it. Maybe nature is teaching us, not with words, but with a certain kind of energy, a subtle wave that the mind can feel when it becomes quiet enough. And when the mind begins to quiet down, awakening begins little by little. It is not about knowing everything all at once, but about a transformation that gradually moves from within. We start to sense something that once blended completely into the world. We begin to separate from what we once believed was me. This is the beginning of an awakening mind, and we will guide you through an overview of these states so that you can observe your own mind more clearly, to see how far it has already moved. An awakening mind does not yet see the whole truth, but it begins to loosen its grip on what it once believed to be me. The mind starts to decode the world from its old framework and step into a new space of understanding. Those whose minds are beginning to awaken learn to let go and dismantle the old ego with gentleness. This transformation does not happen only in thought. It also happens at the level of perception, leading to a new way of seeing that is deeper and more aligned with the heart. And as this change begins to unfold in the mind, certain qualities will slowly reveal themselves, like a flower blooming in its own beauty. From here, we invite you to notice the subtle states of the mind and the awakening mind. Perhaps you will realize that some of the changes happening within you are actually the blossoming of the flower of your mind. Now, let us look at the categories of an awakened mind at the level of true freedom from ego, a mind that has broken free from delusion about the self, no longer clinging to the ego, no longer attached to thoughts, knowledge, or even any illusion of awakening itself. 1. Not clinging to ready-made answers, because they know from within. Those whose minds have awakened do not rely on any theories or doctrines as their anchor, because they see with their own mind. They know from within, without needing to refer to anything at all. It's not that they reject or disbelieve in books or teachings, but they are in a state that transcends all frameworks, even the sense of self itself. So they see clearly that the world they once believed in is full of illusions. They touch the essence, rather than just brushing the surface. 2. Understanding that uncertainty is the very nature of all things. They no longer try to control everything because they know that no certainty ever truly lasts. They understand change and can accept and coexist with the truth of impermanence. 3. Turning inward to study the inner world, rather than chasing the outer one. Those whose minds have begun to awaken gradually let go of the noise outside and start listening to the voice of the mind within. Once, they cared only for success, possessions, or the opinions of others. And perhaps, they may not even realize that this is awakening, but they know for certain that they never want to fall back asleep again. 4. Living deeply in the present. They no longer get lost in the past or the future. They simply remain with this moment, just this one moment. Those who truly live in the present do not even know they are living in the present, because they are present in every breath, without ever thinking about it. 5. Knowing that not knowing is the gateway to wisdom. They are not ashamed to admit, "I don't know yet." They are not afraid to ask new questions, because they understand that true knowledge does not inflate the ego. It leads to humility before the truth. 6. Not running away from suffering or any obstacle. Instead, they dare to look directly at it and use it as a lesson, because they understand that these very things are doors to transformation and spiritual growth. 7. Not clinging to outer appearances. They don't need to look good or to be accepted, because they know the ultimate truth does not need adornment. Even if sometimes they must maintain an image, it is only because of responsibility, not because their inner mind demands it. And no matter what role they must play, their mind accepts what is, rather than what should be. 8. Having a love that is sincere and free. They love unconditionally, without expecting others to become what they want, because they understand each person has their own path, and they understand true love is like breath. It must be free. 9. Not boasting of awakening. They do not hang a sign saying, "I understand now," because they know an awakened mind is quiet, and the deepest truth needs no words. Just being is enough. This state of mind lets go of ego without ever uttering the word ego. Next are the states of a mind that begins to rise from within, a mind that becomes clean, light, subtle, watchful, and ready to shift its frequency toward awakening. 1. Calm, even when the outer world is chaotic. They begin to see that stillness matters more than outcomes. 2. Becoming aware of thoughts, fears, and the mind's own games. The mind starts to recognize its own patterns, though it still needs observation and effort to truly understand. 3. The mind begins to let go of craving and make space for natural growth. 4. Able to forgive with genuine understanding, not to appear virtuous, but because true understanding arises. 5. Not comparing, not competing, not encroaching on others. A subtler mind no longer cares about superficial status, understanding that such things are but defilements of the mind. 6. Allowing others to grow at their own pace. They begin to see that my rhythm is not theirs, and are ready to let each person's world turn in its own way without interference. 7. Seeing everything as a teacher, even failure. They stop judging what happens as wrong or should not be, though sometimes the mind still clings to its interpretations. But their perspective begins to shift from fear to learning. 8. Listening to the silence within, even when the outside is loud. The mind begins to sense a subtle wave inside, though not yet clear whether it's insight or just a fleeting calm. 9. Feeling freedom in the heart without needing validation. A sense of stability begins to take shape, yet they must still watch carefully to see whether the freedom they feel still hides traces of ego. 10. Growing closer to nature, truly. The mind begins to realize that nature is the truth of all things. Nature moves in harmony with the universe. Its waves and energies reflect truth more than any words ever could. As you begin to recognize the states of the mind at different levels, whether the mind is learning to let go or beginning to blossom toward awakening, there may already be something quietly supporting you, without you even realizing it. That is the teacher. The teacher who has been with us since birth. The teacher we overlook every single day. And the teacher who is not found in any book or lesson. And when the mind begins to change, it quietly begins to recognize this teacher on its own. We are speaking of nature. Nature is not just a refuge for the heart or the mind. It can purify the mind, making it calm, subtle, and still from within. It allows the mind to open to a truly profound level of awareness. Because nature is not just the backdrop of life, it is the great teacher of the mind, always ready to teach when the mind is ready to listen. And from here, we will guide you to look more deeply, to see why nature plays such a vital role in uplifting the mind, so it becomes truly awakened, not just understanding, but transforming the very level of being itself. 1. Nature is the original blueprint of the universe. In the quantum perspective, all energy is information taking shape, and nature is the version of that information which is pure and undistorted. Trees, rivers, mountains, they are units of energy that communicate directly with our subconscious. When we are close to nature, our mind doesn't simply become calm, it synchronizes with the original blueprint of the universe, like a computer rebooting back to its factory settings. That's why awakening happens, because old data, ego, beliefs, fears, is gradually erased, layer by layer. It is the mind adjusting itself to the still, steady rhythm of the universe through nature. 2. The human brain evolved to understand life through nature. From an anthropological view, humans lived with nature for hundreds of thousands of years, long before religion, language, or philosophy. Nature was the first teacher of the human mind. We learned impermanence from the rain. We learned patience from the seasons. We learned coexistence from the animals. These lessons are deeply embedded in the instinct of awakening. When we return to nature, something deep in the brain reboots naturally, as if a door opens again. The understanding that these lessons are embedded in the instinct of awakening means that understanding nature, impermanence, patience, coexistence, doesn't come from being taught or reading books. It's encoded in our genes, in the very blueprint of life. It's an original wisdom that early humans understood without needing words. And this is what we call the instinct of awakening, a capacity that still lives within us, even though we may have forgotten it. The phrase, "something deep in the brain naturally reboots," means that when we return to nature, our subconscious begins to remember that we were once deeply connected to it. It's like a computer that was turned off, and upon receiving the right signal, it wakes up by itself, without anyone pressing the button. Finally, as if a door opens again, is a metaphor for the door of the mind, which may have been closed by modern life and city living. When we are with nature, that door opens naturally, allowing us to feel truth, peace, and awakening once again. 3. The human mind already has the function to know, but it is blocked by the artificial world. The awakening mind already exists in everyone, but it is often suppressed by the behaviors of urban life, a world built on artificial information, such as social expectations, external systems of value, noise, and haste. These are like energy veils that prevent us from truly knowing ourselves, but nature has none of these. That's why nature becomes a special space where our brainwaves can access the enlightened emptiness. And when the mind experiences that state, it awakens powerfully, sometimes so much that it changes a life completely. 4. Nature is the raw code that penetrates the soul without language. We tend to think understanding comes through language, but that's only half the story. The kind of understanding that belongs to awakening comes from a deep energy that needs no translation. The light of a sunset, the chill of morning air, the silence of the deep forest. These things deliver raw code directly into the energy field of the mind. No logic, no interpretation, yet they transform the receiver's energy entirely. This is the foundation of awakening, a shift in energy level, not just a shift in thinking. This raw code that can transform our mind without any words. Most people believe that in order to understand something, there must be explanations, words, or reasons. But at the level of spirit, The deepest understanding needs no words at all. Nature does this directly. It doesn't speak to us, but it communicates through energy. What we call the raw code is the original energy of nature. It needs no interpretation, no analysis, and yet it reaches deep into the heart immediately. 5. Finally, nature destroys the ego gently yet decisively. Nature teaches us, we do not control the sky. We are not greater than the mountains. We are not more important than any cycle of life. But this teaching does not come as criticism. It comes through great silence. And it is this silence that pierces the ego most powerfully, making the mind surrender, accept, and awaken in true humility. Nature destroys the ego gently yet decisively. Having an ego or a sense of self means believing we are the center of everything, that we have the power to control life's circumstances. But in the natural world, things are not controlled by humans, and the universe does not revolve around us. Examples. The sky. No matter how powerful we are, the sky continues to change with the seasons, indifferent to what we think. The mountains. However grand we perceive ourselves to be, the mountain remains unmoved, enduring all change with its own strength. The cycle of life. We may think we are the most important, but in nature, every life in the ecosystem has an equal role, no more, no less. Nature does not make us feel guilty. It does not scold us. What it does is offer silence, a silence of immense power. The silence that destroys the ego. When we are immersed in nature, in the forest or by the sea, there is no noise, no words, no elaborate gestures. And in that silence, we feel our own smallness and accept that we cannot control everything. This realization helps us loosen the ego, accept reality, and awaken with a heart full of humility, an awakening born of seeing ourselves in a way we never did before. When we spend time in nature, often and for long enough, we begin to shed what is not truly ourselves, layer by layer. The noisy chatter of the mind quiets. The need to assert our identity fades. The sense of who we are in society dissolves. Until finally, we are no longer with nature, but we are nature. And the change is not only in the mind. Our heart rate, our breath, our brainwaves, our nervous system, everything tunes itself to the rhythm of the earth, the rhythm of the wind, the rhythm of silence, when there is no longer a separation between the observer and nature as the observed. That is the natural state of awakening. Even without practicing anything, just spending 10 minutes a day in nature can reduce stress levels, reset the nervous system into repair mode, help focus return more quickly, and soften feelings of loneliness noticeably. These are not just benefits to physical health. They are the foundation of an awakening mind. And that is the beginning of coming back to yourself. If just being in nature can change you this much, imagine if you intentionally opened your heart, turned inward in silence, and truly listened. How deeply could your mind transform? From here, we will guide you through a few simple, practical techniques to help the mind enter a state of stillness, calm, and true listening to itself. The method we recommend is this. Practice the mind to open, but not interpret. Choose a quiet, natural place, under a tree, by the water, or in a peaceful garden. Sit down, gently close your eyes, and don't try to do anything. Simply listen to the sounds around you, without trying to interpret what you hear. If you hear a bird, don't think, that's a bird. If you hear the wind, don't label it, that's the wind. Just notice that something is entering through your ears, and let it pass. This practice doesn't take much effort, but it does require trust, that you don't need to understand every sound. You don't need to categorize or conclude what each sound is. Just allow the mind to hear and let go. And in the moment when the mind stops trying to do anything, something subtle begins to shift. The mind becomes lighter, more refined, and you'll start to hear your own inner voice in a way you never have before. To open without interpreting is the purest, deepest form of perception. There's no need to seek answers, no need to force understanding, because understanding will arise on its own from a quiet and clean mind. This is how to truly align the waves of your mind with nature. Simple, unpretentious, requiring only intention and trust in the power of nature. In the end, stripping away the layers of the mind doesn't make you into someone new. It brings you back to your original mind, the one that no longer struggles, no longer grasps, and no longer exhausts itself with life as it once did. Life on the outside may look the same. There is still work, still money, still family, still love, still uncertainty. But inside, something has changed. The mind that once chased becomes the mind that understands. The mind that once feared missing out becomes the mind that accepts and responds mindfully. We hope this video has given you a little strength in your heart. May you be happy every single day. With love and best wishes from Dr.D Healing, Universal Energy Healing, the Dr.D way.